Hello, everybody. It's me again, Rich Andre. And today we're going to be talking about the systems in the human body. Okay. And this is going to be the first part. So, when it comes to control and regulation and the processes of the human body, we're almost always centered to the nervous system and the endocrine system. These two play such a massive role in regulating and basically making us survive, generally speaking. Okay? So let's start with nervous system. Okay? So what is the nervous system first? We have to know what the nervous system is first. The nervous system, okay, it encompasses your brain, your spinal cord, and a lot of different nerves inside your body that basically, okay, relay information from the brain and to the brain. It also relays information from the brain to the organs, the tissues, your kidneys, basically everything, okay, in order for your whole body to function. Okay? So what are the examples of the functions that the nervous system basically facilitates? We have blinking. Okay? Every time you blink about 14,000 to 19,000 times a day. And all of that is because of the nervous system. So you guys better be thankful for the nervous system. Otherwise, you'd have really red eyes by now. Either way, besides blinking, there's also sweating, okay, blushing, and your ability to speak. Okay, if it weren't for the nervous system, you wouldn't be able to speak. Okay, there's also memory, your ability to take in memory and store it. Okay. There's also your vision, your ability of sight, the ability for you to think. Okay, and that's a very important part of being a human, is being able to think. If we didn't have the nervous system, we wouldn't be able to think at all, or move at all, or do any of this. Okay. There's also the vital part of surviving, which is breathing. Breathing is part, you see, is thanks to the nervous system. Our ability to breathe, our ability to sweat, take in memories, see, think, have communication, and blink, it's all thanks to the nervous system. So, if you look at this, okay, there are two parts to the nervous system. There are two subcategories to the nervous system. The first is the central nervous system, okay, which encompasses these. Okay, if you see the pink parts in there, this is the nervous system. It consists of the brain and the spinal cord. It basically facilitates how you think, okay, move, feel, okay, how you process those senses, okay, and basically in general, okay, just the information in your brain, how you process what's happening in your environment, in your body, okay. So the second part is the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system, okay, your body has this, what we call nerve cells or neurons. And these things, okay, like I said earlier, the nervous system helps in order to relay information from the brain to the brain. Okay? Now the peripheral nervous system focuses more on the nerves that we have on our body that facilitate various organ function, basically your skin, your organs, anything you could think of, okay? How you can move and feel and sense, all those types of things are related to the peripheral nervous system. But of course, the central nervous system plays a more major part in that. So, given that, okay, nervous system uses these neurons or nerve cells in order to relay electrical information or electrical signals to your brain, which your brain uses to basically relay, okay, give more electrical signals to other parts of your body, depending on what you're doing, or depending on what it wants to do. Okay. So there are two types, okay? Well, when it comes to the peripheral nervous system, there are two types. There are two subcategories, okay? Here's what we call the somatic peripheral nervous system or the autonomic, okay? So what is the somatic? The somatic peripheral nervous system deals with the movements that are voluntary. It could be anything, like moving your body, thinking. Those are all parts of the somatic peripheral nervous system. And as you may guess, the autonomic peripheral nervous system deals with the involuntary. It could be anything from the way you breathe, okay? Just you breathing, thinking, feeling, okay? It's all involuntary when it comes to autonomic peripheral nervous system. So we have to make that crucial distinction. Because, of course, the systems in our body are very vast and are very complex, so we need to simplify it a little bit. Otherwise, this will take more than just a few minutes of your time. So, given that, okay, if you look at this anatomy of the neurons, you can see here, we have the cell body, or what we call the soma. And here in these little root-looking things, it's what we call the dendrites. Here is where the electrical signals sort of like interact, okay? This is the axon, okay? The axon and the axon terminals. And these things help to support the electrical signals that are coming from your brain to your body, or your body to your brain, vice versa. So there are three essential types of neurons that your body uses. The first type is the motor neuron. The motor neuron, you can see here, it looks exactly like a neuron, but instead, okay, if you look at this, there's some muscle fiber. So the motor neurons are basically attached to your muscle fibers, and they help to signal movement. In order for you to move, in order for your body to move, these motor neurons are taking in electrical signals from your brain that support your movement. Okay? The motor neuron is also used for you to speak, okay? It's in your tongue, basically anything that you can possibly think of when you're moving. The motor neuron is responsible for that. The second type of neuron, or essential neuron, a nerve cell is the sensory neuron. If you look at this diagram, it looks a little bit more distinct when it comes to the motor neuron. And that's basically because of the differences in their function. The sensory neuron is responsible for how you feel, for what you feel. For example, okay, when it's cold, what do you generally feel? It's cold. You shiver. Okay? And the sensory neuron is responsible for that. If you get punched in the face and it hurts, the sensory neuron is responsible for that. Okay? So if you can look at the anatomy, here is the synapse, the dendrites, it's little roots, signals from another neuron, cell body. And here's what we need to know is that all neurons are interconnected. Maybe some are not, but a lot of them are interconnected. That's why we're able to sort of control different parts of our body. Okay? The way that we do. Here we have the axon, the nerve endings. Okay? And that's generally the gist of the sensory neuron. It's how you feel. It's what it's responsible for what you feel. Okay? And the third essential type of neuron is the interneuron. And these things, and I'll give you an example for you to understand what they really do. When you touch something hot, like a boiling pot or a hot pan, for example, you generally would back away from it. Okay? When you touch something hot with your hands, you would instinctively pull your hands away from that. And that movement or that phenomenon, the interneuron is responsible for that. Okay? So the interneuron basically is an intersection between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. Okay? And that's basically the gist of the interneuron. So now that we've finished talking about the types of the neurons, okay, hopefully you were able to understand a little bit or a general gist of the nervous system and how important it is, okay, for us to survive. Now, the nervous system is only one part of the equation when it comes to this video, okay? Since I said earlier that when it comes to control, okay, when it comes to control and regulation, it's all about the nervous system and the endocrine system. But the nervous system is more or less mainly about controlling your body. But when it comes to regulation, the endocrine system is to be mentioned. So what is the endocrine system? The endocrine system basically manages or facilitates the hormones inside your body. They go into your bloodstream, okay, from the glands, from the specific glands or tissues that they come from. For example, the pituitary gland. You can see here the pituitary gland, okay? The pituitary gland is responsible for a lot of things that help you survive. For example, like your metabolism. If you guys watch my video about metabolism, Metabolism basically, okay, is a way for your body to manage the chemical reactions, the processes that help you survive. Okay, for example, okay, catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism, you're breaking down things. You're breaking down the molecules. You're breaking down food into proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and those things become ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. And that is basically the universal energy currency of your body that your body uses in order for it to do what it does. So, if it weren't for the pituitary gland releasing the hormones that your body needs, your body wouldn't survive at all. Okay? So, there are a lot of glands inside your body, mostly in different places, in different locations. They're not in one centralized location. They're all sort of varied. Okay? So we have the hypothalamus, for example, inside the brain, okay? Inside the brain, you have the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, the pineal gland. All of these things help to sort of control the hormones that are inside your body that eventually, okay, will be used to regulate some sort of processes that eventually help you survive, okay? So there are a lot of glands, for example, here, adrenal glands that are located right here, okay? The pancreas, behind the stomach, the ovaries, okay? Or the testes, the thyroid gland. There's a lot, okay? So, as I mentioned here, we have the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland. There are a lot of glands. Okay. And the pancreas. All of these release hormones. Okay. So, right here, if you can see the hormones, okay? Hormones basically go into your cells. Okay. They basically bind to your cells that eventually will become some sort of process that will eventually will trigger some sort of process that your body needs. Okay, so if you could look at here, if you remove these hormones, what you see here would be the cell. So that's basically how hormones, work. Okay, they basically attach to their target cells, and that's where the processes that come along with it happen. Okay, so the endocrine system, okay, it's responsible for metabolism, okay, homeostasis, which is basically just your body's way of maintaining its internal sort of mechanisms despite outside or environmental changes. Like, for example, your temperature, okay? Your temperature always stays normal, okay? Your body tries to make your temperature stay at the normal levels, which is below 37, which is just around 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, the temperature, okay, and the water levels of your body, because you are 70% water, and your body tries to make you stay around those levels, 70%. Okay, and of course, there's also your it's basically it. Homeostasis, okay? So your endocrine system directly helps with homeostasis, as well as the human reproduction. Okay, and these three are just examples of what your endocrine system contributes to, the process that they contribute to. And what are the three types of tissues in the endocrine system? We have the endocrine glands, we have organs, and endocrine related tissues. So the first is endocrine system glands. Here are just some examples. The pineal gland, it's a tiny gland in your brain that's beneath the back of your corpus callosum. Okay, it makes and releases the hormone melatonin. So the corpus callosum is basically just the sort of like wrinkled part of your brain. Okay, so it's beneath that, and beneath that is the pineal gland, and it helps you sleep. Okay, so melatonin helps you sleep. Pituitary gland, it is a small CP-sized gland at the base of your brain, below your hypothalamus. Okay, so your hypothalamus helps with your emotions, such and such. It releases 8 hormones, some of which trigger other endocrine glands to release hormones. So the pituitary gland is sort of like the master gland because it helps other glands to release their hormones. The hormones that it releases helps other endocrine glands to release hormones that then consequently eventually make a process for that's from my understanding though. So thyroid gland, parathyroid glands, adrenal glands, and now the endocrine system goes. Okay. So we have the organs that relate to the endocrine system, some of which is the hypothalamus, the pancreas, adipose tissue, ovaries, testicles. Okay. So the hypothalamus is very sort of like a crucial part in the endocrine system. This is a structure deep within your brain. It's the main link between your endocrine system and your nervous system. So this organ, the hypothalamus, which is in your brain, it links the endocrine system and the nervous system. So those two can be interconnected. These two hormones that your pituitary gland stores and release oxytocin. So oxytocin is basically like the sort of like love hormone. Vasopressin, it makes and release hormones, dopamine, somatostatin, and dopamine is basically just this rewarding sort of like hormone. It basically, if we didn't have dopamine, or if we didn't have the hypothalamus, we wouldn't have dopamine, and we wouldn't have the sort of like the motivation to do anything at all. Okay. So pancreas, two organs at the back of your abdomen, okay, and so many more, okay. There's also testosterone. There's also what was there? I know there's something estrogen. Yeah, estrogen. So estrogen, testosterone, such and such. Now, the other tissues release hormones. The digestive tract. The digestive tract is a large endocrine-related organ system. It makes and releases several hormones that play a role in your metabolism. Examples include gastrin and ghrelin. So ghrelin makes you hungry. See, ghrelin makes you hungry, and kidneys, liver, heart, placenta. Okay, so that's basically the gist of the endocrine system and the nervous system. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. If you learned anything from this video, I would suggest you, I would really encourage you to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and give me your honest feedback in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in another video.